Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. As you guys know, the Metis blockchain has been blowing up. We're seeing so many different new altcoins taking off in the ecosystem. So much profit is being made right now, and they have a significant upgrade ahead that is sure to send the value of Metis even higher from here. I believe that this is going to be one of the biggest ecosystems, one of the most undervalued opportunities that we can find currently inside of the market, and we're going to be finishing up today's video by giving you guys 5 of my favorite Metis ecosystem tokens, ones that are solving the most inside of that blockchain, and the ones that are going to see the most adoption as we continue to see the price of Metis skyrocket from here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, here we are to start off today's video, and we have a very important update to give you guys. Now, Metis has been absolutely rocketing since my last update. I think we're over 2x in value since we covered it last week, and I think that this is only just getting started from here. Now, right off the bat, guys, I wanted to cover the big update that we have. This is a massive upgrade inside of Metis DAO that I think is going to be the reason why we see so much more profit rolling in from here. Now, right off the bat, guys, we're going to break down just a few things inside of this article. I'll link it in the description if you guys want to read the whole thing. Lots of high value content in here. Make sure you guys follow Tor. I think he's got great content and has amazing, threads full of information that you guys should 100% check out. So I'll link it in the description. What Metis is doing, they just announced a $330 million incentive program. So they launched the sequencer pool, and this is going to be the first decentralized sequencer inside of all of the layer 2s out there. And this is a huge upgrade. If it's the first true decentralized sequencer, I think that really separates it, and it shows that Metis has the focus to be truly decentralized long term. And with them already being kind of the first ones to have a decentralized sequencer, for the people that don't know what a sequencer is, the sequencer receives transactions from the blockchain user. So you guys got to keep in mind that if most of these other sequencers aren't even decentralized, that leaves a huge vulnerability for anybody to kind of manipulate the data there. Now, I'm sure they have different security protocols, but that's kind of the big thing. We want things to move decentralized. We want things to move on-chain and be more secure that way. Looking at this, 4.6 million Metis are going to be injected back into some of these bigger protocols, the early adopters of this chain, similar to what we've been seeing with Arbitrum and Optimism. Now, when we're looking at this, 4.6 million in Metis, if the dollar value of Metis keeps going up, this number is only going to continue to grow. And Metis just broke out. So we're looking at this number probably growing before it's fully distributed. And I think that this is going to be a bullish thing. A lot of people have said that it's negative for any of these projects to inflate the supply and put that money back inside of the market, when realistically, the only negative thing about inflating the supply is having there be added sell pressure. So yeah, that's the inherent risk of having an added supply, inflating the supply. But the way that these are inflating the supply is different. It's not like they're just printing the tokens and doing nothing with them. All they're really doing is having these tokens, injecting them back into some of those early DeFi protocols, the ones that are doing the most inside of the network, because all we're seeing is as Arbitrum continues to inject this liquidity back in the market, it continues to grow and get more adoption. And I think that that's a staple that we're going to see continue to follow from here. AVAX had one of these Avalanche Rush programs in the last cycle. It went from $20 to $160 in 90 days, and the TVL went from 200 million to 11.4 billion. Obviously, that was peak bull market, so it's a little bit different, but where we're at right now isn't that far off. We're, getting pretty close to peak bull market. So far, Binance Chain and Polygon were the other two to do this, so it has proven to work in years past. Now, I want to come down here and actually compare some of the stats when we're looking at other layer 2s out there, so that you guys get the perspective of how, undervalued Metis still is. Now, the market cap of all of these, Metis has a $320 million market cap, 10x smaller than its other biggest ones, and, about 5x, 5 to 10x freaking smaller than every one of the biggest competitors out there. And the TVL is small, but when we look at Immutable's got 40 million TVL on a $3 billion market cap. That's kind of garbage if you ask me. So I think that Metis has a lot of room to move from here. Now, when we're comparing Metis, one of the big things is understanding the TVL, and what I think is going to happen is as the TVL kind of goes up, we're going to end up seeing a lot of these different protocols taking off, and that's where we're going to really see the whole market taking off too. I think that the TVL will rise as the more people just end up playing with the DeFi protocols, and so we're going to end up seeing a lot of that money kind of coming in around this injection of all of this Metis into the market. So as we're talking about this, I think it's important that we're understanding what's happening from a fundamental perspective. Now let's dive into the technicals and see what the charts reports are telling us so that we know how to be prepared and positioned from here. So right off the bat, guys, looking at the chart of Metis, we had an absolutely monster breakout from my update, looking at about a 2x inside of that entire candle, depending on where that update was given. Me and my group have been accumulating this since 2023. All throughout this year, we pretty much were buying it, and we also accumulated some of the ecosystem tokens as well. Now that we're starting to break out, even though we have made a big move, I still think there's plenty more upside to come from here. It's not necessarily a bad time. What the best ideal strategy would be to, if we did pull back all the way back down this buy box, I think that would be the most obvious entry, considering all it would be doing would be coming back down, getting a big support and resistance flip off of our range highs before, in my opinion, we carry on all the way to the top of this lower high. That's where I believe that Metis is headed, at least in the short term. So this one's going to be taking off in a big way. There's going to be a lot of profit rolling into this. And a lot of the reason why I liked this so much, I was accumulating this one all the way back over in here when we first started breaking out. And then I bought more on this dip right here. And then we kind of accumulated a little bit. So I don't remember the exact price. I'd have to look inside of the Discord. But we were just pretty much accumulating this one at the beginning of 2023 for the majority of my position anyways. And that was kind of where I took the majority of my position inside of some of those ecosystem tokens as well. Now, when we're looking at this, it's not like I bought the exact bottom by any means. This thing dropped significantly, and that's why I always tell you guys that depending on where you buy it, you might have to hold on to a loss. Technically, I was probably on at least a 60% loss on some of these holdings, only for those 60% loss to turn into a couple X's on the way back up. So that's the way that the market works. It's always going to end up tricking people. You're going to see big swings inside of the price, and it's designed to trap you out and shake you out of your positions. One thing I've always told you guys, I've made like 5 different 100x calls inside of the last cycle, 5 different positions that made at least 100x. A lot of those I held on to a 60% loss at one time before they took off. It's a patience game. You got to have the conviction in the project, because once the fundamentals start to prove that that's a legit project, that's where the price starts to take off. Now, one of the other things I wanted to show you guys real quick is talking a little bit about this chart over in here, and this is the Wall Street cheat sheet. The reason we're talking about this is really the main reason why I saw this taking off in a big way, and why I started to really, focus a little bit more attention inside of Metis. We saw the exact same emotional psychology as what you would see inside of the Wall Street cheat sheet. This classic market cycle example where you have capitulation and you go through this long sort of accumulation. And what we see here is the same sort of pattern where you make this false double bottom and then you fall for one more low. It was the same thing that happened here. It's just a big Wyckoff accumulation, and that's all that we saw play out for Metis. And now we were right here, just starting to rally up. We were basically right here when I made my video. And I told you guys how I was expecting we'd be starting a new cycle. Now, I'm not going to lie, I didn't think that we'd just instantly do 2x from here. I'm not going to lie, I didn't think that. But it's nice to see that. And as we're breaking out of this range, if you get an opportunity to buy the range highs on a retest, I think it would be a good idea. Even if you got in down here, it's still a good idea to add to your winners. The ones that outperform are obviously going to continue to do that. There's a reason why they're doing it up to this point. Understanding the emotions allows us to be early to the market. We're seeing all of the market on Twitter, everybody talking about Metis now, and we've been accumulating this and holding this, talking about it before anybody else. Now that we're starting to see the masses flocking into it, we're about to see all of those ecosystem projects doing the same thing. So let's talk about them, break them down, explain which ones I'm invested in and why I think that they're going to do so well long term. So first one on today's list is going to be Tes. Tes is more or less just the GMX of Metis DAO. So when we're looking at this, the chart looks pretty much the same as the price of Metis. All of these ecosystems are going to look relatively similar. The only difference is we're just pretty much pulling back right at the same resistance level. So do we hold it? Is this going to be a retest before we get continuation? I don't know for sure, but I do think that big picture, this is going to keep going up. What we're looking at with Metis, we're either making one more low to retest this, or we're just going to kind of continue up from here. I don't care which way it goes. That's just what we're going to be looking at for where the other ecosystems are going to be bottoming too. All this did was break out, retest the range high up here, and we're pulling back down and consolidating on top of this range high. And most likely it's going to end up acting as new support. We really want to see the market hold in here, because if we started to reject and fall lower and we were unable to hold the breakout of this range, it would look a little bit more weak, but I don't think that that's the case. The way Metis looks breaking out of this range so convincingly, Tes is going to follow the same pattern. I just think that all we're doing right now is just retesting that range high before we do see continuation. So we're kind of at the last line of defense for the bears. If you are truly bearish on these, if you're bullish, you're kind of at the last point where you can buy before these things start to have some serious markup. I think we're most likely headed 150% up from here, and I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see this thing rallying all the way upwards of like $2.50, which would be like a 4.5x. If Metis comes all the way to the top of its lower high, being $180, it's almost to be expected that these things make a pretty significant move. I don't think they're going to be running to their all-time highs by any means, but I mean, midway through, $2.50, that's more than realistic for Tes. And so all of these have a pretty small market cap. Comparing the two, this only has a market cap of $2.86 million. So it's very, very undervalued if we're looking at where this thing could be long term. Already, the market cycle looks solid. It looks pretty much the same as Metis. The only difference is this one is kind of maybe lagging it, which is to be expected. So far, what we've seen is anytime the ecosystem token takes off, we see them lead the way, and then the ecosystem goes after. So I think that this is going to continue to play out from here. Metis is probably going to outperform the other tokens in the system, but as these things are breaking out with Metis, I still think that these are going to be offering some of the bigger returns we're going to see. And if you do believe in Metis and you think that it's a good project or ecosystem to hold long term, you basically, need to do your buying now, because we're about to be leaving the accumulation. And I don't think it's a good idea to be buying any of these projects at any point after pretty much leaving this accumulation. I buy bear market bottoms. I like accumulating at these lows, even if I freaking buy the local top before it drops again. What I've bought by accumulating at historically low points in cycles has been 50 to 100x type of investments. Even ETH, buying that, a high cap crypto, made me like a 40x from the majority of my buys. So when we're talking about something being less than $3 million in total market cap, when we're talking about an entire ecosystem blowing up, and this one being kind of one of the bigger projects inside of that, I don't think you can go wrong holding this through this entire cycle, even where we're at right now. In fact, I think now is probably a good time to buy. Now, the next one is going to be Maya. This is another one of those projects I really like. So far, it's doing the same setup as all the other ones. They're just making their first breakouts. Now, when I look at this, to me, it looks like we're probably going to end up coming back down and potentially retesting like right here, or even all the way back down to like 24.5, all the way to like $30, somewhere in there, before we do see continuation. But this is what I'm going to be watching for. If you do get the opportunity to end up buying in on any of these dips, it's a very important time to do so. Now, Maya is just another one of these big projects inside of the Metis network. I just shared with you guys that chart because it was the only one I could find with the entire price history. But the market cap's about $7 million, so it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more overvalued in comparison with Tes. All Maya is just a DeFi protocol, and it offers you yield on a number of different cryptocurrencies. And so looking at the DeFi protocols, this is one that I think will end up taking off in a big way. All it's really done is just made this first little market cycle, right? Higher highs, higher lows. Final capitulation is this breakdown of the trend line. And what I have historically seen is anytime you get these capitulations, it's what ends up happening before this new cycle takes off. And this is what I'm going to be watching out for from here. Looking at the ROI, if you get a dip and you're able to buy like $30, just to the prior high is 100%. I'm looking at these things massively going into new all-time highs. We're going to be looking at these things where you can't even see the prior highs of this first cycle. And I think that that's what we should expect long term. I mean, if Metis is going to go into a new all-time high at some point, like all of the other prior cycles have done, all of these are going to end up doing the same thing. And this is one that's just barely making that first breakout. So I don't think it's a good buy right now, as we're, just pretty much teleporting. But if we got a dip, I'd personally buy it. I think it's a good opportunity to get back in. Now, another one we're going to be looking at is Hermes. Hermes is pretty much one of the biggest DEX inside of this network, and it looks a little bit like our last chart, just a little bit different so far. Now, as of right now, all we did was make this first breakout back up to these range highs. We're pulling back. If Metis drops a little bit lower, I think that this one could come back and kind of retest this main support, probably around 5 cents, upwards of about 6.5 cents, somewhere inside of there. That's where I would be targeting for a true retest in this market. We could be coming all the way back down, something like this. That's what I'd be watching for if we do pull back. And if you're able to get any sort of a pullback into this, back into this support, I personally would buy that, because I think that this one's going to be one of the better ones you can hold long term. Now, inside of this, all it really has done is just a big one wave impulse. And what's coming next is wave 3. Wave 3s are going to be the biggest, the most impulses, the most money comes in, the most volume comes in, the highest ROI, all of that fun stuff generally will happen inside of the wave 3. So even if you're buying at this right here, and we pull back and you're at a loss for a short term, I don't think it's a bad time long term. And that's why I say, guys, for me, when I'm covering ecosystem tokens, most of you guys don't really know how to read charts very well. That's why you watch my channel, is because I break them down. And so for the majority of people, they're not trading. The majority of people aren't really, focused so much on the charts. They are looking to just buy something and hold it. What is my opinion on what I think is a good investment? And these are all tokens inside of a good chain that I think are great. For the people that are wondering where to buy, you can't ever know. If Metis just keeps breaking out and it just keeps breaking out and doesn't ever pull back to this level, these are going to all do the same thing. They're just going to keep breaking out too. So it's up to you to make the choice. Do you care about buying right now and potentially holding on to a short-term loss if we do pull back to that level, maybe a 30 to a 40% loss? Or do you not care about the 30 to 40% loss? You'll buy more if we get the dip. Or do you care more about potentially missing out on what happens coming into this wave 3? Those are the decisions you have to make personally. I mean, I bought all of these months and months and months ago. So at the end of the day, this is the only real advice I can give you, because I can't give you guys the exact answer, because I don't know if it's going to pull back to this level. I don't know if it's just going to keep going up. I already accumulated them, because at this point, I just want to hold what I have. So the people that are looking to get into these, those are the only two things that's the only two answers I can give you. And it's ultimately just your own choice what you end up doing from there. Now, looking at this other one, we're going to be looking at NetSwap. This is the oldest swap DEX inside of this network, and it all pretty much looks the same as Tes. All of these have kind of had this similar sort of cycle. The only difference is this one made 3 lower lows, right? So as we're starting to break out, this one's been one of my bigger winners inside of this network. And I think this one's going to end up pulling back down a little bit lower, probably come back down to about 37 cents, which would be about right here, before we continue up. All of these are making support and resistance flips of some kind. Every single one of these. Even if we go a little bit lower, they're all just going to be retesting these prior resistance levels as new support. And a lot of that has to do with what the price of Metis is doing. If Metis comes a little bit lower and retests here, I think that that's going to be an obvious signal that the rest of these are going to follow. But, all of these could be all of these could be actually bought at a discount, looking at like maybe a 30 to a 40% discount across the board. With these ones being kind of the biggest ones in the market, I mean, if this thing went to its prior all-time highs, it's hard to even imagine it doing that, but I do think it's 100% possible. Even if you just buy right where we're at today, if we went to those prior all-time highs, you'd be looking at over 100x just inside of that. So, I mean, it's kind of insane to think about the potential inside some of these, just because of how hyped Metis got in that last cycle. Are we going to see the same thing play out again? I don't know. But even if this goes half to its cycle, it will still be a 50x. I mean, who cares? But these are the type of opportunities we're looking at. Almost all of these are pretty much similar, where they had these absolutely horrendous bear cycles, which that isn't pretty much doesn't even count for the most part. This one's maintained an uptrend. Metis has to go all the way up to its prior high, and if Metis starts doing that, you got to expect that some of these other ones are going to get relatively close, and that's why I think the opportunity comes in some of these low caps. This one has a $3.27 million market cap, and if this is one of the oldest, well, if it is the oldest DEX inside of Metis, you got to expect that it's going to do well long term. I just think that that's going to be a given. So watch out for NetSwap. Now, next, we're going to be talking about GameFi. This is the only gaming ecosystem inside of, well, it's the only one that I know of anyways, inside of the Metis ecosystem. All this one's done, broke out, made its first new cycle. Massive new volume coming in here. All this first cycle was a one-wave impulse. This was a big ABC correction, and we're getting ready for a wave 3 coming next. I think that this one's going to get absolutely parabolic. Looking at wave 1, and this wave 3 could go, it's impossible to say, guys. I don't even like to tell you guys targets with Elliott waves, because this has a $1.4 million market cap. If this thing just starts going, it could literally just do a 10x really quickly. I mean, at $1.2 million market cap, it's only got to go to like a 12 million, or 11.5 million, I should say, to get us to that level. And so it could actually just go really quickly to these sort of valuations. These are some of the projects that are going to be the leaders of the ecosystem. And so if all of these are under $10 million total market cap, I mean, my gosh, I just think that the opportunity is pretty massive. And we shouldn't be looking at short-term targets with any of these. We're looking at these as being, something we hold long-term. Now, like I said, this is the first decentralized gaming platform inside of Metis. So if you like gaming, if you're bullish on gaming, I'm bullish on gaming, crypto gaming for this cycle. And then finally, for the last one in today's video, we have Metis Inu. If you guys are looking for the highest risk, highest reward opportunity inside of this chain, look no further than Metis Inu. Metis Inu has a total market cap of $207,000. So the upside potential is absolutely massive. We just recently started breaking out. I am in good profit. This was a signal inside of my Discord. Be aware of every single one of those things. But my entry was 60K market cap. So, I mean, it wasn't like I bought the bottom or anything. It was like I bought right here. Somewhere over there, I think, is where I actually bought. So, I'm not really up that much. I still think that the upside is going to be massive with this one. At 200K market cap, and it being pretty much the only Metis coin, and it pretty much being the only real dog coin on the Metis network, I think that this will blow up, and we're already kind of seeing it do that. Now, I don't know, guys. Is it done? Is it topped? Is this already over? Who knows? And that's why I saved this one for last, because I truly think that this one could end up just being, you know, a total scam. I really don't know. That's why it's the last one on today's video. It's kind of one of those that's either going to make us a lot of money, could go to a 10x. A 10x is only $2 million in total market cap. So the upside potential is just absolutely massive. But if it doesn't end up playing out, I mean, and it just starts dropping, you're going to pretty much lose all of your money, right? And that's why I want you guys to be aware. If you're going to buy this, you can only buy it with the amount of money that you're 100% okay with just losing and writing off completely. That's the only way you should take this trade. And realistically, you might want to do that with all of the trades, but I do believe in these ones. I think that these are all going to do well long term. So far, they're just beginning their first cycles. None of them really look bad, I would say. All of them could be giving us a little bit of a better buy opportunity over the next day or two if we see Bitcoin keep pulling back from here. And so I just wanted to make them aware for you guys. I'll link every single one of them in the description so that you guys can actually find the right token. I don't want anybody getting scammed. I don't want anybody finding the wrong thing. So I will link them below for anybody that wants to find them. And with that being said, guys, this is the video I had for you. I wanted to break things down fundamentally, talk about some of the upgrades, improvements that take place in Metis, why I believe it's got so much more upside potential. Its competitors are massively more overvalued in comparison. You know, we got about a 10x to go if we're going to even peak at the same market cap of Optimism, and we have a whole cycle to go from here. I think that this one's going to be one of the lead. I think this is one of the lead layer 2s for this cycle, already having direct ties between the lead developer of this being Vitalik Buterin's mom. She was already one of the people that built Ethereum in the early days. She was part of the Ethereum Foundation early on, and she might still be part of that foundation now. I'm not 100% sure. But looking at that, direct ties, it's one of the only truly decentralized layer 2s that we have inside of the market. Too many reasons not to be bullish. I'm invested. I'm holding every single one of these, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens from here. So if you guys found value, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these updates. If you guys want to join the Discord server, see how I'm investing, see where I bought every single one of these and posted signals for, links are in the description. You guys need to check out the Discord. If you see what I'm doing inside of the market, you see us making all of this money, every single one of these altcoins that we talked about were a prior signal that's in profit. A lot of these are in pretty good profit from the initial signal given, and I think that this is something that's only going to continue to play out from here. If you guys want to see how I'm investing, you got to be in the Discord. The only way to sign up for the Discord is to sign up on my website, linked in the description of this video. Check it out. With that being said, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys, and I can't wait to see what happens from here. With that being said, everyone have a good day, and peace out.